Hello, I'm back again, continuing on with my vlogs on each of the 11th Doctors. And this week is the 3rd Doctor, played by the lovely Jon Pertwee. Jon took over the role of the Doctor in 1970, after the 2nd Doctor's forced regeneration. He was quite a different character from his predecessor. The 3rd Doctor could come across as a lot more serious. He was quite charming, coming across quite a gentleman with a taste for the finer things. He was very confident and he had a brilliant mind. However, he could sometimes come across as quite patronising and arrogant. But this isn't to say that he didn't have his softer side, and he often displayed a strong sense of compassion and empathy. He would often first attempt to solve situations peacefully. However, this attitude would soon change if he was crossed. His style was also very changed. It was much more extravagant. This Doctor had a taste for frilly shirts, velvet jackets and capes. He was a man of action who was not afraid to get his hands dirty. He often used Venusian Aikido, which is a form of unarmed combat, and he was also often seen to use weapons. The first Doctor was exiled to Earth for the majority of his era. This was due to the fact that the 2nd Doctor was captured and put to trial by the Time Lord just before he was forced to regenerate. So the 3rd Doctor was seen starting out the punishment. He no longer had the ability to operate a TARDIS, and initially this led to a lot of frustration for the Doctor as he learned to adjust to the changes. During the 3rd Doctor's time is when we learn that he has 2 hearts. It also features the introduction of Unit. He spent a lot of his time with Unit, particularly with the Brigadier, who was in command of them. His first companion was also part of Unit, this was Liz Shaw, who was a scientific advisor. Despite the fact that he is stuck on Earth, the 3rd Doctor still sees plenty of action. The Master is introduced during this era, brilliantly played by Roger Delgado. This fellow Time Lord would of course go on to become one of the Doctor's greatest foes. The 3rd Doctor also battles the Sontarans, the Silurians, the Daleks and the Sea Devils, and that's just to name a few. He also has encounters with both of his previous forms. The 1st and the 2nd Doctor both appear in the 2 Doctors. The 1st Doctor and the 2nd Doctor both appear in the serial The 3 Doctors. After this trio defeat Omega, the exile is finally lifted and the Doctor is then free to roam through time and space once again. Despite this though, he does have a great fondness for Earth and continues to return regularly. The 3rd Doctor had several companions, including the Brigadier and Liz Shaw, Joe Grant and Sarah Jane Smith. His relationship with the Brigadier was very rocky to start out with, but eventually the two form a deep friendship and mutual trust. This Doctor loves gadgets. He puts a sonic screwdriver to use much more often. He also has a vintage yellow car that he names Bessie, which he uses to get around. He also has a hovercraft sometime later. The 3rd Doctor's regeneration, which takes place in the Planet of the Spiders, comes as a result of radiation poisoning. This is after he defeats the Spider Queen. He does first manage to make it back into the TARDIS and return to Earth. He's found weakened and dying by Sarah Jane Smith and the Brigadier, and it is in their presence that he eventually succumbs to the regeneration, all the while trying to offer some comfort to Sarah Jane. Jon played the role until 1974. He was also the 1st Doctor ever to be aired in colour, with Spearhead from Space being the first episode to do so. Jon played the role brilliantly, really bringing the character to life, and personally for me, I also felt that his regeneration scene was probably the most emotional and touching out of all the regenerations so far. Jon very sadly passed away in 1996, but to this day he still remains a firm favourite for many Whovians and fans of the classic series. That's it for now. I shall be back next week, and it will of course be the 4th Doctor, played by Tom Baker. Bye.